All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the welterweight division talking about the big fights coming up soon. One involving Errol, Jaron Ennis, other ones including Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. But been listening very carefully about the conversations of these fights, and I got to tell you, man, Jaron Ennis is very much poised to be another Errol Spence. And that is not necessarily a good thing the way that I am bringing it up. There's a whole lot of excuses being allowed around Jaron Ennis that I just don't think should be allowed. And they're the same excuses that were being used and led Errol Spence Jr. and the welterweight division to go so slowly over the course of 5 years. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division, where there's just a whole lot of excuses running around. Excuses for losing fights, excuses for not taking fights. And since people are very quick to talk about the excuses of one person in this 147-pound division, I want to talk about and highlight the excuses of another person or other people in this division that there's no excuses for. No excuses for their excuses, or no justification for their excuse. It is playing the same game that people claim that they don't want to see played. And that is well, on one hand, you can't say that you lost a fight because you were injured. On the other hand, you get to say you won't take a fight at all because, hey, I'm me. Let's talk about that. But before I do, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much, because I am going to be beating on this drum because I get a little bit irritated. We don't have a lot of fights going on in January. We actually had a pretty decent one with Jaime Munguia and John Ryder this weekend. I did enjoy that fight. Jaime Munguia looked good. I don't think he's going to be able to compete against the top guys in that division effectively, but still, I enjoy watching him fight. Can't wait to see him fight again. But in the month of February, I do think we do have coming up an undisputed heavyweight show between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, which has like zero buzz to it whatsoever, but definitely looking forward to that. Other than that, not a lot of action going on, and people are really waiting for the PBC card to come out, or their schedule to come out, so we can see exactly who's going to be fighting who. One of the fights that people want to see or wondering about is Jaron Ennis. Who is he going to fight? Terence Crawford. Who is he going to fight? Is it going to be Errol Spence Jr. or is it going to be Jaron Ennis, or is he going to just not do anything, right? Because those are the three options, right? Errol Spence, who is he going to fight? Is he going to fight Terence Crawford, or is he going to come back against somebody else, right? Those conversations. Well, I was having one yesterday on my live stream. This is shout out to Sean. Came by the channel, challenged me quite energetically on the fact that I said that I don't think Errol Spence Jr. is lying about being injured. I don't think he's lying. Now, what I did not say was that I'm saying that's the reason that Errol Spence lost the fight. I want to be very clear to anybody that listens to what I say. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I believe the man was injured. And why do I believe that the man was injured? Because there's no reason for me not to believe that he was injured. Number one, I don't know him to be a liar. It's not like we're talking about somebody that says one thing and you find out that it's not true, and then they say something else and you find out that that's not true, and you find out then they claim something else and they find out that that's not true. If that was the case, I would say more than likely he's lying. Why? Because I keep catching him in lies. But when a person tells you the truth, what am I going to do? I'm going to believe him. The man was thrown out of a car 50 feet into the air. I saw the picture of the car. I know that he was very injured, though he had no broken bones or torn ligaments. doesn't mean that you're not injured, because you don't have a broken bone and you don't have a torn ligament, right? A detached retina is not a torn ligament or a broken bone. A severe concussion is not that either. They are still injuries, correct? So, muscular tears, right? Torn muscles, that's not a torn tendon or a broken bone, but it's definitely an injury. But in the sake of saying, for the sake of saying, okay, if we're not going to accept any injuries, and if we're not going to accept any excuses or any reasons for why somebody can't perform, then I don't want to hear any excuses for why somebody can't perform. And by that I mean, if you don't want to hear any excuses about why somebody said they got into the ring and they didn't perform to their fullest capabilities, then I don't want to hear any excuses about why a person where that person himself can make the fight doesn't want to make a fight at all. No excuses. If you're not injured, if there's not something preventing you from doing it, like a different network or a promoter that will not allow you to make the fight, why are we giving excuses for that? So you got Jaron Ennis, who is the IBF champion, has over 30 fights, 28 knockouts, is clearly, when you take Errol and Terence out of that equation, clearly the best fighter in the division that Terence Crawford fights in. But there's a bunch of excuses about why Terence Crawford shouldn't fight him. And none of them are around anything that's any good for boxing. One excuse is, well, Jaron Ennis is not ready. We don't know how good he is. Neither is anybody else in that entire division. Nobody in that division, can you tell me a name that you believe is ready to beat Terence Crawford at 147 pounds? Nobody. You cannot name for me one single solitary person at 154 pounds that you think is ready and able to beat Terence Crawford. So if it applies to everybody else, why do you care about it specifically with Jaron Ennis? Also, haven't we already been through this? Haven't we already seen a young, phenomenal fighter get his hands on an IBF belt? And matter of fact, Errol got it by winning the belt, right? And you still said, that people still said, not you individually, people still said, well, Keith Thurman's, I'm not ready for him. You know, you're getting there, kid. You're getting there, kid. Sean Porter, same thing. Danny Garcia, same thing. When it was with Errol Spence. So Errol Spence is not able to unify a belt first of all, he wasn't even able to get an opportunity with any of them. He had to go all the way over there to the UK to get Kell Brook, who was coming off of a loss to Gennady Golovkin. So Kell Brook manned up and gave him the fight when none of the other guys would. And then the same excuses for not fighting Errol are the same excuses that's being used by Terence Crawford not to fight Jaron Ennis. And guess what happened with Danny Garcia and Sean Porter? Errol Spence Jr. went and beat him. Even though, well, we don't really know if he's ready. We don't really know. You're going to wait around until he's not ready to fight him, right? Until he shows some type of vulnerability. That's what people are looking for before they're willing to put Jaron Ennis in there. Waiting for him to see some type of vulnerability maybe. And don't tell me it's something about, he didn't touch Karen Kukadashian. Karen Kukadashian did not win a single solitary round in that fight. Look, if we're not going to take excuses, then let's not take any excuses. If Jaron Ennis, if Terence Crawford is not going to fight Errol Spence Jr. because he's upset that Errol made excuses for his performance, right? Then we should, and people are okay with that. Then you should not be okay with Terence Crawford giving excuses about why he can't fight Jaron Ennis, which is, I'm too far along in my career. That's too much of a risk for me. I don't feel like it. I feel like fighting Canelo. When Canelo was way up there at 168 pounds, already's got this next two fights lined up and ain't interested in Terence Crawford, from what I understand, at all. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.